Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Chris Shang, and we bring in various types of leaders from various fields of expertise. Today, we have Rahul, who is the founder of Steady Steps, which basically offers holistic leadership development to individuals as well as organizations to help them realize their fullest leadership potential. Super excited to have you on today, Rahul.
Thank you, Chris, for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm very excited and to have this conversation.
Of course. Tell us a little bit more about Steady Steps. What kind of companies are you working with or individuals? And we'll jump right into it.
Sure. So Steady Steps, the name, the way it was derived is basically for all of us to move forward, we need to take steps. We need to take baby steps. And it is just not about taking steps. Throughout my 2.5 decades of professional experience, I realized that consistency is very, very important. So that's where the name came in, Steady Steps. We need to take steps on a consistent basis. And the reason I founded this organization is throughout my experience, I have encountered with various individuals, especially the fresh college grad, new managers. And I see they, in spite of having great potential, they were not able to unleash their potential. And me being part of the teams, at times we were able to make it happen, at times we were not able to make it happen. And when we were not able to make it happen, it was a lose-lose. We used to lose that individual to us, to other competitors. So I decided to start up this organization. And this journey was not as smooth as it looks like. It was in 2015, Chris, when I first met with the legendary Les Brown. He's one of the top motivational speakers. And it was a 3-day event. And this event was attended by multiple speakers throughout the country. And what I learned there was all these speakers, they have their story. And through their story, they are helping the community. They are encouraging the community members to do better, to improve their life. And that really triggered me, and my purpose of helping others, my passion of coaching, training, and going above and beyond really came alive in my heart. But at the same time, Chris, the biweekly paycheck was very comfortable. So I was not able to take that bold step. Probably the COVID really did the thing. And post-COVID, there's a lot of intervention with my own self, what I need to do and how I can help. Life is too short. You never know what will happen tomorrow. So give your best shot when you have time. So I started working on myself. I started preparing by, again, enrolling into a 1-year-long public speaking and training course. And I wrote 2 books, Be Action Oriented and Habits for Miracles. Both these books are basically helping others to take consistent action and lead their life their way. And in today's environment, I'm focusing on college and universities to help students to know their inner self, to know their path, to avoid that confusion in their mind. So when they start working with corporate or whatever they want to do, they really know what they really want from their life. So that is one segment of clients that I'm supporting with. The other segment is the information technology industry. I see a lot of technical leaders. They are great on when it comes to technology, but they fall short when it comes to dealing with people. This is based on my experience. So I'm trying to help our major international information technology companies to improve the people management skills of tech leaders. So those are the 2 segments that I'm supporting. From the coaching side, by and large, I'm coaching those people who are coming for my leadership workshop. Onesies and twosies, yes, I'm helping when people are connecting with me on LinkedIn, and that is more for community service. It's not chargeable, so I support them, and I continue to support them as they are providing efforts, because I am just a facilitator. I can provide them direction, I can provide them resources, but it is they who need to take action. So as long as they are taking action, I'm helping them, I'm working with them.
Got it. And do you find yourself do you see yourself working more with individuals or organizations in that capacity?
So organizations, that's where I see I will be able to make maximum impact. Currently I'm working because I'm going internationally next week, and I have few workshop with financial institution. So that's a very new segment that I'm entering into. And in financial services, there is a lot of trust building is required. There's a lot of communication, empathy, all these things are required. So it's pretty common, and I'm discovering more and more about these financial organizations. So I have two workshops lined up in July.
Got it. And obviously, I think like there's a lot of facets to unlocking somebody's potential. I think obviously it's a lot of it's understanding the human condition, but then also properly being able to communicate that to somebody. And I agree 1,000% that in order for change to happen, it has to happen in baby steps, because I think a lot of people talk themselves out of it when they think about the big picture, and then they get overly concerned about what that 10th step might look like in terms of leading to some kind of failure or disaster, when I think most often than not, 99% of the time, they never actually even get to that 10th step, because the moment you take the first one, you're already on a trajectory for a different path. Walk us through a little bit about where do you feel like your strength, your forte is, in order to bring about that kind of like change, because I think it's first driving awareness before somebody can make any changes. How do you go about that? Is there a particular like audience or segment that you feel like you resonate better? Are there certain types of individuals you work better with, organizations? Or is there even, a certain type of change that you are better at instigating than others?
Sure, sure. So I think very good point that you are bringing it up. Most of us, when we are trying to change, we fail because when the moment we see obstacles, we give up. So the first approach that I try to take is the inside out approach versus an outside in approach. I believe that we all have an ability to make that significant changes that we want to have in our life. However, most of us see the external factors more prominent than the internal factors. So the one approach that I take, Chris, is just knowing themselves. It's so important for them to know their strengths, where they are falling short, or what are their value system, what kind of environment they are in. Because same workshop, in my experience, has given different impact to different people. And that impact is based on the environment they are in. Because most of the time, what happens is when people come for training workshop, they are very attentive, they are very participative. Having said that, the moment that is over, they're back to square one, they're back to their normal routine, and they are unable to focus on the execution of the learning. So the approach that I am proposing to my clients is, it's not a one and done kind of a workshop, because there are many amazing colleagues who are doing similar work that I'm doing. And I do not want to engage with my client for just one deal, because I may not be able to make an impact. So if an organization, one of the questions that I ask to my clients is, are you looking for a training or are you looking for a transformation? If it is a transformation, probably I may be able to support you and help you. But if you're just looking for training, I may be a little expensive for you. So, and the reason I say that, because the impact comes in that one-on-one coaching. The impact does not come in a group of 20 people or 50 people sitting in one room. So my approach is, it's a follow-up coaching along with the workshop. The certain group of individuals with whom I resonate well, it's based on my experience with information technology industry, as well as the staffing industry. These are the two industries that I have spent a majority of my time. So the individuals who work in these industries are, I'm able to relate to their day in life. Because another thing which I have encountered as an L&D head is, whenever we used to call an external speaker or external trainer, My folks used to love it, but one feedback I consistently was getting, that the speaker was not able to relate to us. He
Mm,
was not knowing our own challenges. He was not aware of the background, our industry background. So that's where my target is, on those two industry. And that's where I was saying that the financial industry is new for me. But I'm learning. I have some great support who are helping me to learn that industry.
yeah. Interesting. I mean, on the topic of, I think of instigating change and relating back to the individuals. What about you? Would you say personally that's like your own unique flavor or take on how to do that, right? Is there a certain, I know like a lot of different leaders will have their own narrative, meaning like they have their story, their origination story, how they got to where they got to, why are they why are they able to speak with authority around whatever that topic is that they speak on. What
Mhm.
is do you have you fleshed that version of it out, and what is that version for you? What do you speak on as part of your personal story that you feel like is most impactful for people?
Sure. So one of the key thing which had made me here where I am today is my determination. So I am a firm believer in this quote that I learned from my father when I was 9 years old, which is, where there is a will, there is a way. So if you really want to make it happen, you can make it happen. And for any reason, if you are not able to make it happen, the learning that you will have from that experience will be very well worth executing that. So people management is one of the critical aspect in today's environment, and that is where I shine. I thrive. I'm proud to say that I have the ability to build personal relationship with people. And when I say personal relationship, is knowing them beyond their laptop, knowing them in and out. That is number one. Number two is being there for people when they need me. So at times as leaders, we become very busy in our day-to-day things. And our people, when they need us, they need it there and then, because they need to solve that problem right there. If I'm available after 4 hours or 5 hours, it's not enough. So the ability to be there when they need them is something that has made me where I am. And number three, I would not deny it, is the support. It takes a village to make an individual. So definitely the support of like-minded people, support of mentors. I have been a great fan of Simon Sinek and Franklin Covey's books. So I'm an avid reader. I try to learn from each and every experience of my life, whether it is in the corporation, outside the corporation. So those are some of the key aspects that I really thrive on: people management, being a leader who is with people, for the people. And last but not the least is curiosity, curious learner. So I'm being very, very curious on what's going to happen next and how we can make things happen.
Hmm. Got it. Um, what are your thoughts about, working within an organization and looking for transformation out of, or trying to instigate transformation out of people? I feel like in any given room it's kind of like a bell curve, right? It's like, I mean, it's like the general population. You're gonna have the top performers of that bell curve, which is gonna be 10% of that group. You're gonna have 10% that just like completely against any kind of change whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
head in the sand kind of thing, right? And then you're gonna have 80% that's somewhere in that middle where um that might may or may not even have self-awareness yet, may or may not want to change, right? Um, or or has the idea of change. How do you I guess, like, to me, when I think about, people who are uh helping develop these kind of like leadership skills, it's like those that are able to walk into any of those given rooms. Obviously I think the more that you become an expert like a Les Brown, for example, I'm sure like there's a larger percent of the people in that room that's going to veer on that willingness to change. And if there's obviously a larger price point associated to it, they're probably going to
Mhm,
want to have some kind of change so they're ripe and willing. But
mhm,
like that being said, if I'm working in an organization and this is part of like my curriculum of training and things like that, and you're gonna kind of you're gonna be given just like a room where you don't know exactly where they fall on that spectrum.
mhm,
How do you introduce yourself? How do you position yourself in a way to ripen them up to the idea of change? Because change for most people is scary, right? It's like it's unknown, it's a risk. Uh, it could lead to the most amazing life, but I think there's half of that population that's gonna have a pessimistic lens on change, right?
mhm.
Um, so what is the kind of like the first few things that you do to assess, I suppose, the situation for how you're going to move forward?
Absolutely. So the first thing which is coming to my mind and what I do normally is the research.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing about the organization as to what are the things they have done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
how they did it, what went wrong, what went right, and why, and their own why. What is their why for this change? What would happen if they don't change? What's gonna now? It is really challenging to get all this information because it is not readily available on Google or
Yep.
ChatGPT. So you need to have that inside information, or probably engage your client in a pre-meeting dialogue, or so you can get those information. That is number one. Number two is I have seen the majority of change management which fail, and as per Harvard research, 90% of change management initiative fail. And that comes down to the communication. Communication is the key problem in the change management initiatives. And that communication boils down to the middle management. Because what happens is in a typical scenario, the leadership, the people in the boardroom, they share the information with the next line leaders. And the next line leaders are fairly responsible to share that information with a larger group. Now, if the middle management, if they are not sold on that initiative, it really can have a ripple effect because the employee engagement aspect. So, as per the study, 72% of corporate America, employees are disengaged.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you have a disengaged manager, Chris, you tend to have three times more disengaged employees. So for me, when I'm going in a room of people who are all unknown, where I don't have, so this is a classic example that I'm doing in Mumbai. The financial industry, I have never worked in a financial industry. I'm not aware of their key challenges. So when I had my first conversation, it was based on my research of what the challenges these companies face. And when I was having my first call with the HR, what went well is my preparedness. Is my preparedness about their organization, about their challenges, based on the market study or market research that I did. So I believe that preparedness is the key. And then we as a consultant, Chris, we are a facilitator. We will just take the check and probably things will go their way. And that is where I don't want to be part of it, because I want to be part of it to see the change happening. And that is where it's a larger investment, because you just pop in and pop out, you will not be able to make things happen. That's where you need to stay engaged for a longer time, which is the post engagement, which is the coaching aspect. I would also recommend, and I have recommended my people or my client, the need identification. So when we as a consultant, when we get a need, in my personal professional experience, what I have observed, when we get a need from a leadership, the leadership team gives us the need from a future perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to the actual people who will be impacted by this change, their needs are from a today's perspective. So it's a huge gap from a future from today. So they want to know how this will help me today. Whereas leaders are thinking from a future perspective. So as a consultant, we need to come in a midway to make sure that we are meeting the expectation of the leaders as well as meeting the expectation of our ground level employees. So I always try to connect with, do the need assessment by doing some focus group to really to hear the pulse of our clients and then make a recommendation. Now, every time I'm not getting that opportunity, I'll be very honest, but yes, I at least propose that if I am able to get an opportunity to connect with some of the employees beforehand.
Got it. Got it. So that's probably, I'm sure that's pretty critical component of it, is being able to get that access. Um,
Yeah.
and let's kind of talk about, I guess, like, as you're going through and working within different organizations now, like, where do you imagine your business to grow into in the next few years here? Is this something you feel like still somewhat seemingly new, still getting your foot through the door and building up your resume or
Right.
your credential list first? But I guess like in the next few years, like 3, 4 years, as you continue to grind it out, add more organizations into your belt, what is the scalable version of this for you? Like, what have you thought about it? Like, what do you think you would want to do to really kind of get your messaging and your personality out there?
Yes. So it is not sustainable if I'm the only person. So I definitely have a plan to build a team around it. And I want to build a team for presenting or for doing the workshop. And the way I see 4 years from now, I don't think I will have enough time to do everything. So definitely I would need team. And I would be focusing more in 4 years from now is just keynoting. I don't think I will have bandwidth to do a one-day workshop or a two-day workshop, but I will have my modules. I will have some ready-made go-to or off-the-shelf stuff for my clientele based on the needs, based on the requirements that I'm seeing. But on the other hand, what I'm observing in just last 6 months that I'm out, things are changing consistently. So every time I'm doing a workshop, I'm making amendments to my deck based on the input that I receive. So it's not that I record today and it will be good for 1 year.
Yep.
So recording is something would need to be very, very generic. It cannot be very, very specific, but off the shelf, things that would be made available to clients.
Got it. And then I kind of want to talk about this real quick too, but it's like, you spent a good couple of decades plus in learning and development. I'm sure you've probably gone through a few cycles too of like, boom times, recession times, etc. Has the way that I guess like the way that the market is receptive to change, and I suppose the different skill sets they are looking to change or transform, has that evolved? Has that changed over time? How does it look like now versus past few years? And what do you think it's going to be like the new skill sets for the years to come?
So to answer the first part of the question, yes, it has changed. It has evolved. People are more receptive to change as compared to in the past where they were very rigid. So I'm seeing that, and probably that is also due to the influx of Gen Z millennials coming into the workforce. And where I see the skills, the future skills, I don't see a whole lot of things happening from the functional side of the skills, tech skills. I see where the challenge or probably which will make more impactful, it will be the life skills, which is more of a communication, public speaking, how you handle stress, how you build trust. Because technical skills, everyone. So this is another statistics which I was reading, not reading but watching a video a couple of days back, where the Stanford study, where they studied successful individuals. And the story is that successful individuals, they have spent 90% of their time and money in developing technical skills, functional skills. However, on the other hand, they attribute 90% of their success for their people skills, for their leadership skills. So entire life, they spend a lot of money in building that technical domain, that technical knowledge or functional knowledge. But if they are successful today is not because of those skills, it is because of the life skills. So I would see the more prominent these skills will be coming, and I'm seeing that happening in schools and colleges. I know there are a lot of youth organization who is getting involved in teaching the public speaking, being resilient, handling stress, being taking care of that mental health, because that is where the rubber hits the road. If you are not able to take care of your mental stress, it can really go into a different direction. So that's what I see in the future. I'm not undermining the impact of technical skills and functional skills, but they are they are important. But if I had to give the weightage, the life skills is something that will make things happen. Because as you grow in the leadership, Chris, it is not about how you do things, it is about how you are able to get things done. So you are no more an individual contributor. As an individual contributor, yes, the tech skills are important. Those functional skills are important. But as you are stepping into the leadership role, it is these life-changing skills. Life skills are more critical.
Absolutely. And I guess with the life skills, right? I think that in and of itself is almost like in a place to be redefined, right? With I feel like there's there's the hot topic of AI. Obviously, I think my personal take on it is that I think there's a lot of over promising, under deliver kind of solutions out there so far. I don't think you can take away the potential of what it's going to become. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to be advancing very, very fast, very, very quickly. But I almost feel like if society doesn't learn at large what the capabilities are, how it's leveraging the ways that we're interacting with it as the means for it to learn, and just the fundamentals of how AI works, I feel like that will in and of itself be something that will have to be a life skill set, or like a life skill that will need to be developed in years to come, just because of the lack of social awareness around something like that. I still don't feel like enough people are aware, when you have those the cookie captures pop up on every visit, on every site that you visit. Like, I don't think half the population knows what they're opting into in terms of like their privacy settings and what that looks like, right? Let alone just asking ChatGPT a bunch of things. And now, even with Meta, it's on their Instagram. And I don't think people are aware how prevalent it really is and how much they're interacting with it. To the point where they should be very conscientious with what they're approving, whether even if they're like just being dismissive around that approval, but like conscious about like, I know I'm engaging with this, I'm too lazy to shut it off, but I know that I'm allowing that to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that there's to me, that's kind of like the scary, it's a pretty scary part of just the ignorance of people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what happens is when we don't follow those things, people are saying, hey man, you are not adaptive. You are not accepting the change. So today the masses go with the change based on the change we are seeing on social media.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup. Stanley Cup became the overnight success because everyone is having Stanley Cups. Okay, I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but it is the social media which is making it big without realizing the impact of that piece. Case in point, Tesla. So I'm a owner of Tesla, and I bought this full functional AI selfless driving capability. And in my initial 3 months, I had two major issues with that. And though it is getting upgraded and everything is happening, but you know what? I do not have that belief that I can safely drive, because it was God's sign that okay, nothing happened. but anything could have happened. My car suddenly got stopped on a highway, and but there was no vehicle in the behind me, so I was good. But so that is where the technology is a boon as well as a curse, and we need to be a little mindful of the pros and cons rather than just going for it. In that awareness part, I fully agree that we are not going or deeper. So I believe that devil is in the details.
Yeah,
And we don't go into details sometimes. We just do things for checking the box.
absolutely. I guess my question was also centered around, the freakonomics of things, right? How everything's kind of correlated, and sometimes these things that are societally shifting, we don't realize the implications until years later, right? I'm curious as to, like, as somebody who is in this realm of learning and development, do you what do you foresee the potential implications of AI being on society at large, but also I think, like, more specifically in your use case, like within just, professional organizations, right? Like, do you, with the reliance on something like AI and the potential of what it can do, are we not as I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that could potentially happen there, either like, a larger spread of misinformation, which obviously false news and that kind of stuff, and AI generated videos are out there circulating the web, and very hard for people to discern what is not real and what is real, right? Like, even within the workplace, I'm imagining, like, people becoming more reliant upon, the personalization, like, I think about like go to market and personalization, and becoming reliant on those things as factual. But like, at which point is it going to have these longer lived implications, I think, on society? And like, how is that going to change, or how are you even thinking about that in terms of, like, 4 years from now, your role is going to be different, the topics you're going to cover is be so drastically different because of things happening today.
Yep. So one of the, I would say, the drawback that I'm seeing and I'm observing is when we were growing up, or it's still probably 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we didn't have these AI tools. So all the things were done with the human brain and human mind. And now it is available. So the youth who is seeing this concept as kind of a given, I see that they are not able to spend time in for their creativity. They are just going into this AI tool. On the other hand, I also learned that our co-pilots, so the co-pilot tool, which is driven by ChatGPT, I think the professional version is fairly safe than using the free version of ChatGPT. It is your information is just not going on the web. Your information remains on your enterprise cloud. So those are some of the changes that has happened. But I concur that things will change in the future. But at the same time, it will also increase the need for the life skills more,
That's part.
because then you cannot learn these life skills over the chat GPT. Yes, you can get to know what are the good traits for to be a good leader, but ultimately you have to demonstrate it. You have to lead by example. So I do see that things changing, but at the same time, there are certain things which is driven by human behavior, which will remain constant, in my opinion.
Got it. Very cool. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today, sharing your insights and your experience. I think is a very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Appreciate it. Take care.